Hello students, today I am going to start the 5th chapter of the book Footprints Without Foot from the book with the same name, Footprints Without Feet. So, Footprints Without Feet is a novel written by H.G. Wells. The story is about a scientist named Griffin who discovers some rare chemicals which can make a man invisible, but at the same time the man can be touched and felt physically. So let's find out how he uses or misuses his power for his own good. Now, the two boys started in surprise at the fresh muddy imprints of a pair of bare feet. What was barefooted man doing on the steps of a house in the middle of London? So they were surprised. As they gazed, a remarkable sight met their eyes. A fresh footmark appeared from nowhere. Further footprints followed, one after another, descending the steps and progressing down the street. The boys followed, fascinated, means they were very surprised because they can't see anyone. They can only see the footprints but not the person who was walking. The man was invisible. The boys followed, fascinated, until the muddy impressions became fainter and fainter and at last disappeared altogether. The explanation of the mystery was really simple enough. The bewildered boys, bewildered means extremely surprised. The bewildered boys had been following a scientist who had just discovered how to make the human body transparent, means invisible. Who was the scientist? The scientist was Griffin. So Griffin, the scientist, had carried out experiment after experiment to prove that the human body could become invisible. Finally, he swallowed certain rare drugs and his body became as transparent as a sheet of glass, though it also remained as solid as glass. That means he could be felt and touched but cannot be seen. The brilliant scientist though he was, Griffin was rather a lawless person. That means he didn't follow the rules of the society. His landlord disliked him and tried to eject him. Eject him means throw him out of the house. In revenge, Griffin set fire to the house. So this was the first crime that he made after becoming invisible. To get away without being seen, he had to remove his clothes. Thus it was that he became a homeless wanderer, without clothes, without money, and quite invisible, until he happened to step in some mud and left footprints as he walked. So now we can understand the setting of the story. He escaped easily enough from the boys who followed his footprints in London. But his adventures were by no means over. He had chosen a bad time of the year to wander about London without clothes because it was biting cold winter. It was midwinter, the air was bitterly cold and he could not do without clothes. I mean, it was impossible for him to continue walking the streets bare feet without clothes. Instead of walking around the streets, he decided to slip into a big London store for warmth. Closing time arrived and as soon as the doors were shut, Griffin was able to give himself the pleasure of clothing and feeding himself without regard to expense. So he didn't have to buy anything. The huge store was closed. He could wear warm clothes and he could feed himself with food. He broke open boxes and wrappers and fitted himself out with warm clothes. Soon, with shoes, an overcoat and a wide-brimmed hat, he became a fully dressed and visible person. In the kitchen of the restaurant, he found cold meat and coffee, and he followed up the meal with sweets and wine taken from the grocery store. Finally, he settled down to sleep on a pile of quilts. কম্বলের ওপর ঘুমোতে শুরু করলো. Okay. If only Griffin had managed to wake up in good time, all might have been well. As it was, he did not wake up until the assistants were already arriving next morning. When he saw a couple of them approaching, he panicked and began to run. They naturally gave chase. In the end, he was able to escape only by taking off his newly found clothes. So once more he found himself invisible but naked in the chill January air. This time he decided to try the stock of a theatrical company in the hope of finding not only clothes but also something that would hide the empty space above his shoulders. Means that the portion of the face. Shivering with cold, he hurried to Drury Lane, the center of the theatre world. He soon found a suitable shop. He made his way invisible upstairs and came out with a little later, wearing bandages round his forehead, dark glasses, false nose, a big bushy side whiskers, and a large hat. To escape without being seen, he callously attacked the shopkeeper from behind, after which he robbed him of all the money he could find. So he not only stole the goods, the makeup goods, the clothes, but also robbed the shopkeeper and attacked the shopkeeper badly. Eager to get away from the crowded London, he took a train to the village of Iping, where he booked 2 rooms at a local inn, means local hotel. The arrival of a stranger at an inn in winter was in any case an unusual event. A stranger of such uncommon appearance set all tongues wagging. That means everybody began to talk about the stranger. Mrs. Hall, the landlord's wife, made every effort to be friendly, but Griffin had no desire to talk and told her, "My reason for coming to Iping is a desire for solitude." That means I want to be lonely. I don't want to be disturbed by anyone. I don't want to talk to anyone. I do not wish to be disturbed in my work. Besides, an accident has affected my face. That's why my face is bandaged. Satisfied that her guest was an eccentric scientist, eccentric means khapate, mad, and in view of the fact that he had paid her in advance, Mrs. Hall was prepared to excuse his strange habits and irritable temper. But the stolen money did not last long, and presently Griffin had to admit that he had no more ready cash. He pretended, however, that he was expecting a check to arrive at any moment. Shortly afterwards, a curious episode occurred. Very early in the morning, a clergyman and his wife were awakened by noises in the study. Clergyman means a church priest. Creeping downstairs, they heard the chink of money being taken from the clergyman's desk. That means, since the money has run out, Griffin had broken in the house of the clergyman and he was there to rob the money from his desk. Without making any noise and with a poker grasping firmly in his hand, the clergyman flung open the door. Poker means a poker stick. Okay. Surrender. Then to his amazement, he realized that the room appeared to be empty. He and his wife looked under the desk and behind the curtains and even up the chimney. There wasn't a sign of anybody. Yet the desk had been opened and the housekeeping money was missing. Extraordinary affair, the clergyman kept saying for the rest of the day. But it was not as extraordinary as the behavior of Mrs. Hall's furniture a little later that morning. The landlord and his wife were very early and were surprised to see the scientist's door wide open. Usually it was shut and locked, and he was furious if anyone entered his room. The opportunity seemed too good to be missed. That means when Mr. and Mrs. Hall found that the door of the scientist was open, they were tempted to visit inside his room and check what was the mystery behind that man. Since if the man was present in the room, he didn't allow anyone to enter the room. They peered round the door, saw nobody, and decided to investigate. The bedclothes were cold, showing that the scientist must have been up for some time. That means he was long awake and gone outside. The stranger stole the clothes, the bandages, and he always wore were lying about the room. That means he had removed his clothes, he had removed his bandages and gone outside for some walk. All of a sudden, Mrs. Hall heard a sniff close to her ear. A moment later, the hat on the bedpost leapt up and dashed itself into her face. Then the bedroom chair became alive. So, the scientist had arrived inside the room, and seeing Mr. and Mrs. Hall there, he was very agitated. He wanted to frighten them, he wanted to scare them. That's why he started behaving in that manner. But Mr. and Mrs. Hall couldn't see Griffin because he was invisible. Springing into the air, it charged straight at her legs foremost. So the bedroom chair became alive. That means Griffin actually threw the bedroom chair at Mrs. Hall. As she and her husband turned away in terror, the extraordinary chair pushed them both out of the room and then appeared to slam and lock the door after them. Okay, so Griffin locked the door after Mr. and Mrs. Hall went out of the room. Mrs. Hall almost fell down the stairs in hysterics. That means she was extremely terrified. She was convinced that the room was haunted by spirits and the stranger had somehow caused these to enter into her furniture. That means the stranger had done something, that's why the furnitures of the room had become spirited. Okay, something ghostly has happened to the furniture, that's why they were flying, they were moving of their own, she thought. My poor mother used to sit in that chair, she moaned, to think it should rise up against me now. That means how could the chair attack me? Because it was the chair of my mother, my dear mother. My dear mother can never attack me. The feeling among the neighbors was that the trouble was caused by witchcraft. But witchcraft or not, when news of the burglary at the clergyman's home became known, the strange scientist was strongly suspected of having had a hand in it. Suspicion grew even stronger when he suddenly produced some ready cash, though he had admitted not long before that he had no money. The village constable was secretly sent for. Instead of waiting for the constable, Mrs. Hall went to the scientist, who had somehow mysteriously appeared from his empty bedroom. I want to know what you have been doing to my chair upstairs, she demanded. And I want to know how it is you came out of an empty room and how you entered a locked room. So when the room was locked, how could you enter the room and then come out of it when we all couldn't see you? The scientist was always quick-tempered. Now he became furious. You don't understand who or what I am, he shouted. Very well, I will show you. Suddenly he threw off bandages, whiskers, spectacles, and even the nose. It took him only a minute to do this. The horrified people in the bar found themselves staring at a headless man. Mr. Jaffers, the constable, now arrived and was quite surprised to find that he had to arrest a man without a head. But Jaffers was not easily prevented from doing his duty. If a magistrate's warrant ordered a person's arrest, then the person had to be arrested with or without his head. There followed a remarkable scene as the policeman tried to get hold of a man who was becoming more and more invisible as he threw off one garment after another. Finally, a shot flew into the air and the constable found himself struggling with someone he could not see at all. Some people tried to help him but found themselves hit by blows that seemed to come from nowhere. So once again, Griffin had become invisible and started hitting the people outside. In the end, Jaffers was knocked unconscious as he made a last attempt to hold on to the unseen scientist. There were nervous, excited cries of "Hold him!" But this was easier said than done because nobody could get hold of Griffin. Griffin had shaken himself free and no one knew where to lay hands on him. Okay, this much for today. See you in the next class.